So I thought I'd make a video on this because I'm growing a lot of white hair. As you can see, I'm starting to really get a lot of white hair and getting old. And anyway, that's not the reason I made this video, but I wanted to make this video because I was at work and doing a temp assignment, and you know, I always, whether it's on the bus or a grocery store, I sometimes sort of get a quick image or something I remember that happened very quickly, just for a couple of seconds, someone I saw or someone I knew, or could be possibly benefiting to whoever it might benefit to, the psychologist and whoever's in charge, because I'm not in charge of anything. But this information can either be helpful to me or harmful to me. I don't know, but it's important for me to say something, because I don't know what's going on. I recall seeing Michaela, my sister, my half-sister, who, yeah, I know I've heard from this person forever, or seen them, don't know anything. Whatever the investigation is, or I'm just thrown to the curb like a garbage can, just like so many other times, I don't know. But I was at the grocery store, and I'm going to say I had my backpack with me. And it was at the grocery store 100%. And I saw Michaela while I was shopping somewhere in the fruit and vegetable section, I'm going to say. And I was walking through the grocery store. I don't know what grocery store it was, but I went there, and she didn't have anything with her, a cart. She just walked by, and she just walked by me and looked at me. But she wouldn't walk by me. She was like a good 20 feet away from me. And I was walking this way, and she walked over and looked. I think it was to my left, and it was from a pretty far distance. I'd say 20 feet, 25, and was just walking by me and looking at me. And I looked at this person, and I was like, because I don't ever get to look at females, heterosexual females. They don't ever come around me for any kind of reason. It's really rare. They're not allowed to be around me for some reason. I said, oh wow, that girl's really pretty. And I didn't know who this person is, but they were looking at me. The way they walked by and the way they showed up was very specifically just to see who I was. That's exactly what they did. They just walked by me like to identify me. I know, identify my dead body when it's ready for me to die, like they did to my dad. But anyway, this was before. This is 100% before Lawrence, Kansas. And I want to say I'm about 60% of feeling guarantee that it was before I saw her at the Magic Time Machine in Dallas, Texas, in Addison, Texas. I don't know who's in charge, what this person knew who I was. She knew who I was. I'm trying to remember if there was any other times that I saw her somewhere, anywhere, other than the Magic Time Machine, and I don't ever recall, at least as an adult or late teenager, ever. But this is something I do remember 100%. She walked by me to identify me. She just the way that she walked by me was to was to identify me and point me out. Like, I think someone told her to walk by me and see if he knows who you are. And I didn't. I didn't say anything. I remember I just looked, and I was kind of nervous because I didn't know immediately I don't know what's going on. Because it looked like she looked at me and then looked ahead like this person's thinking about something else. Like something else is playing on that I don't know about. But this person just walked by me to identify me. It didn't show up in any threat in any kind. But I do remember saying, I was like, wow, that girl's really pretty. But I thought it was important for me to say something. You make of it what you want. This was 100%. I remember having I'm going to say my backpack with me, because I'm like rugged homeless at this time. I don't think I was on disability yet. She could have walked by me. It could have probably been right before the Magic Time Machine, because when she walked by me, I didn't say anything. They're like, okay, go over to the restaurant and see if he knows who you are. So like I said, when I saw her, she kind of looked at me and kind of proud and was looking at me and looking at this and looking at some guy and then looking at me. So I think it's important for me to say this. Also wanted to say, look, this is not really regarding Michaela at all, my other topic. I don't do drugs. This is, for me personally, I've already talked to the staffing agency. I don't know who has cameras. I don't know who's allowing this. I feel very nervous and scared of the fact that this even happened. Who's really in charge. But I was at work for a temp assignment, and they're allowed to smoke weed here in Vermont, apparently it's illegal. I'm not here to point who can smoke and who not. If you want to go smoke yourself, that's fine. I smoke cigarettes, but I don't do drugs. They were smoking on the job site, all three of them. But the guy was a big pothead, the guy that was there and the other manager that was there. I just saw the other lady smoke a couple times, but I say this because we're working in a very close proximity in an empty warehouse, and I caught secondhand smoke from that THC. I absolutely do not want anything to do with weed or drugs. I don't want to be around that. I was so scared that I didn't want to say anything because I feel so threatened with the electronic devices, and as soon as I said something, within a few minutes, they started shooting me violently on my body with these electronic devices, and then they made me shit. This is one of the things that I feel like I can't defend myself to say that I don't want to be high. I don't want to get high on drugs because someone else is cornering me in a situation, in any situation, so that I get high. I like the idea that I don't do drugs or be around it to even catch secondhand smoke. That I haven't took, the last time I smoked weed, I was 30 years old or 31, right before that murder attempt was placed on me, and I got a knife pulled up to my throat. And those guys were smoking weed, or at least they were smoking something, because I saw them from a distance. So I say this because I should never feel in any circumstances that I have to get high, because I have no choice, because the electronic devices and the cornering power that they have over me, that I'm just going to deal with it for now and then I'll leave. And that's exactly what I did. But I did speak up and I said, look, I was like, hey man, I don't want to get high, and I smelled this weed, and I was a pretty good distance, but the smoke was coming into the warehouse, and then it just stays in that environment. They turn the fans off on purpose so that the smoke would be in there, and then I would hopefully get high. And that guy got me high on drugs. I felt like I was altered, and I had to sit down for a second because I was like, sort of felt like I was shaking because I don't want to be high. I don't want to get on drugs. I don't like drugs. And, you know, should never be in a situation where the second time that I told this guy, you know, or the first time I said, man, I don't want to get high. He told me, you know what he does? He goes, you're not going to get high. He starts yelling at me. He says, you're not going to get high, as he's closing the garage door just a little bit. He goes, then leave. And he, like, you better get high or you're going to deal with it. Like, that's the tone, the way that he was talking to me. I can get you high if I want to. And none of the managers can do anything. And the electronic devices, they all know what's going on. But I say this because he left and then walked by me and goes, fucking stupid. And he, like, calls me fucking stupid. Like, and I go look at him like, who? Like, what? And you can see how somebody, like, wanted to say something by me and wants to walk. You know, when somebody doesn't want to necessarily say it directly to your face, but they're nearly say it directly to your face. You know, like, you know, whether it's a racial comment, that's exactly what he did. So, but he didn't say a racial comment. He said fucking stupid, like fucking dumb. And that's what he said. He goes, fucking dumb. So I wanted to say this because those are the types of threats that I talk about. That why this person was shooting these electronic devices at me and everything. I had to go to work. I bust my ass at work. I put a lot of work out, and I didn't want to be a part of any of this. The day before, he had been giving me rides for the past 4 days, and when I'm in the car, there's police officers that are showing up at the intersections as I'm in the car with him. What that only tells me is that he has them on call to arrest, threaten, and put fear onto me as personal servants. And that's why. So I want to say that I think it's important. I felt so violated, the idea that I was getting secondhand smoke, and I felt like my body was being altered. and I have to get high on drugs, and I can't get away from this situation because I'm being threatened with the electronic devices and everything else. And I don't do drugs. I don't want to be high at all. So I thought it was important for me to say at least something about it. If it happens again, I'll have to deal with it because those are the threats that I get from law enforcement and the people that play this sort of, you do as I tell you to do because no one can save you or help you. And some of the flashbacks that I get when this situation happens is like, I know this is a little bit off the subject. I know how my mom feels. My mom, she got so cornered, so horrifically cornered, she has no choice but to have sex with who they tell her to get raped and have sex and have kids by. And no one wants to understand and believe what I have to say because my mother, I'm being so abused. Like even when I was living in Las Vegas, this happened to me. And this guy said, "Yeah, you want to go eat meat? You want to go eat some pizza? I'll pay some steaks and meat." And I go, no, but maybe once. And I don't even want to disagree with someone because I'm scared of the electronic devices and what retaliation that might going to happen. And I immediately, profoundly got these images of my mother, of how my mother behaved. You better have sex with who I tell you to do, and I'm going to condition you otherwise. And the person immediately responds through what they see with what their mouth is to say, "Yeah, you're saying exactly what I want you to tell you," because they're not going to retaliate it against anything that you have to say. They're going to go along with everything you want them to say because it's embedded, incarcerated in fear in that person. And that's exactly what they did. I know they did this to my mother. I've seen this up front with my mother. It is too late for me. This is what they did to Frankie. This is when I was young. People think, oh, it just happens to everybody. No. This is to steal $175,000 to rape wherever you want and get away with it. Just like the law enforcement knew about Frankie being raped by 10. These homosexuals were raping Frankie left and right. They knew about it. They all knew about it. And so, like I said, I don't even want to talk about this anymore and brush it off as much as I can because there is absolutely nothing and no justice was ever done about this. That I have to move on because there's nothing. I've said of everything I've ever need to say. I don't even want to talk about it because I feel so threatened at the point now that I have my own apartment that I just have to just maintain my life as best as I can at this point now and just make several comments whenever I can, little things here and there, but I don't even want to feel, I feel less comfortable to even want to say anything to defend my mother or Frankie anymore because of what's happening. Like when people do that at my job site, when people do this, whenever start saying these things, I don't want to do anything about it. I don't want to say anything, and this is exactly why this is happening to my mother. My mother is not a homosexual. My mother's not bisexual. And they're doing this, like, I spoke to someone on the phone, I think it was Joey or some guy that I was talking to 10 years ago, and he said something along the lines with, like, he goes, "Oh yeah, that's why I'm bisexual." So someone begins training me, and they're referencing my mother, saying, "No, that's why your mom's a bisexual, because you were calling her a bitch and you were yelling at her. That's why she turned bisexual." That's not the case. My mother had sex with my father way before any of this happened. I never heard. You got to understand, my mother's being placed in a prison far beyond anyone understands because they're raping Frankie. And so they tell all the gay community members to corner my mother. She has no education, no money, no funds, lawyers, and people start slapping and attacking her and doing this and that, and they start threatening her kids over there and this and that. You better do everything I tell you to do. And that's exactly what she was doing. I say this because I'm speaking to my mom's twin. She is like 100% like a trained dog. She cannot say left and right without the approval and immediate exact words of what somebody else is telling her to do. And they're using her to turn against me and like almost reference death and practice my death mortality against me. And it's to cover up what's happening in the background scene. So I wanted to say this, Michaela, please look after your life. Please understand that my mother, in whatever situation, isn't going to help you. It's going to burn you and it's going to sabotage. I'm saying this because you're my sister, the only sister I have left. It's my blood. You're my half sister. We share the same father. What mutilation is going to happen between our biological father who's still alive and you is beyond anything you're going to be able to imagine. please understand that no one's going to be on your side at this point. I know what I'm doing this for your safety. I'm like throwing you the keys and run. Throwing you the keys and run. Because this part of the world that I live in is going to bring horrors to your life. And who's in control? It's best to be more content and happy in your life and try to get involved and suffer to the horrific things, because they can be really bad to happen to you. And you don't understand how mutilating that is, because it's an exchange for this and this and this and then this. But I thought it's important for me to at least say something. Whether you care or not, I thought it was important for me to say this. But like I said, I can't believe I feel so violated that I got high, and I felt like I couldn't walk away. Like I had to just sit there and deal with it, because guess who's really in charge? The police officers, and that's how they did it. First, you get to see the police officers. The second round is when a person starts yelling at you. Remember the facial expressions they give to the other driver, the guy that was working with that was gotten the secondhand smoke? That's why. So I wanted to say this. I don't do drugs. And that's how threats happen. But like I said, I can't get too comfortable anywhere. I don't think that ever happened in my life even. Not like I was at my house when I was a kid growing up in the house I grew up in. But as far as anything I have to say with this situation is, I just can't get too comfortable. I just know that this is a blessing and everything, but I just can't get comfortable that this is my home. And it is my home, and I try to make it much, but I've just been thrown on the streets for too long. I've been thrown, and I don't want to be digging in trash cans. That's the biggest thing, is I don't want to be digging in trash cans, living on my knees, begging people for food and money, because I had no choice. They have done this for so many years. You have no idea the imprisonment and control that's happened to my life, to say that these people made it very clear to me, and very clear to me. I can make Hector dig in a trash can for food if I want to, and call the members out when I want and get those orders. And it's a fear. So, like I said, I've lived that for so long that even when I'm here, it feels like home. It does feel like a sense of home, but, I got crucifixes, I got, candles, I got these, Mother Teresa, and it does feel home to me because of that. But, like I said, I think it's important for me to say this, because there's like an internal feeling that I get, because I've lived on the streets for so long, and I'm so used to just being kicked to the curb from house to house. The last house that I was living at in Las Vegas, the guy stole $100 from me. He stole my deposit, and I was being shot with electronic devices, and this guy's saying things about my mom and dad, and he had a stroke. And he's very tactical things. So I say this because I don't even want to say anything anymore, because I'm not in control. So all I can do is just give some suggestions like this in this video when I can, but I don't feel comfortable. I just can't believe that I was getting high and I can't get away from it in this situation, and those types of threats happen, and you don't know how they correlate, because they were doing this before. And they were doing this for so many years. You have no idea the persecution of what they did to me. This is like a personal prison camp of what they did for so many years.